Okay, so it looks like we have a couple of people here. So we're going to go ahead and start. My name is Molly Connolly McNeil. I am one of the career advisors for ASU Career Services. And this is Forks Forward. This is a series of presentations and discussions that we've developed here at Career Services to help people kind of think about and discuss topics that are of interest, especially in the sort of alumni, but doesn't have to be alumni, it can be anyone here, community. And since we have such a small group, feel free to turn on your cameras, off your mics, and jump in. If you want to just be a person who listens to the presentation, that's totally great too. I will ask for some presentation, like or participation if you are interested in joining and participating. This is meant to be a little bit of a discussion, but also a presentation. So there will be room for discussion, but also sort of a lecture. And hopefully you will learn something from this and also time for questions as well. So for those of you just joining, again, small group. So feel free to turn on your camera, turn off your mic if you want, but I'm going to go ahead and get started. All right, and feel free to jump in the chat too. That is also appreciated. So, everyone can see my screen, right? AI for career development. It looks like that should be good. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started now. So we're going to start with a kind of discussion question. Feel free to say aloud or write in the chat if you want to participate. So anyone think of a way that AI can help you in your career development? Obviously, you're interested in the topic if you're here. So if anyone feels brave, feel free to unmute and shout it out or type it in the chat. And if nobody has any answers, that's totally fine too, because guess what? You're about to get a lot of information about this. All right, so I will just move along then. All right, so our agenda today, what is AI? Responsible use of AI, career exploration, resume and cover letters, interview prep, networking, and then some conclusions. So hopefully this will be not a surprise to you, but we'll just go over a basic definition of AI. Artificial intelligence refers to a system that performs tasks that are used to rely solely on human intelligence. For career development, there's a great potential to make processes easier, especially those really tedious parts of careers, um, applications and things like that. But there's also a great responsibility to present your authentic self to potential employers. So it's that sort of Spider-Man thing of great power comes great responsibility. So some of the ones that we have at Career Services specifically, and some of the tools that we really like to use are, so Pathway U, and these are all free, all available to alumni and students, and anyone who has an ASU, right? So, I will be able to get these all to you, or you can search for them on our ASU Career Services webpage. Pathway U is my favorite one. It uses your responses to um, a series of assessments. You have four little assessments. I did them all in about 10 minutes to recommend career paths that match you with available jobs. So it kind of syncs up all of that information. The assessments are assessing your values, your personality, your workplace conditions, and your well, let's see, personality, values, and interests, of course, and your interests. Synthesizing all of that, giving you some broad areas such as like science and mathematics, and then within those broader interests, suggesting more individual careers such as secondary ed mathematics teacher. And then from there, it gives you suggestions for secondary ed mathematics teachers in a zip code that you enter. So it takes you from what are your interests all the way to individual jobs in your area that are in your interest areas. Sun Devil Career Prep is our new tool. It is all AI. So if you're really interested in AI, this is the one for you. So it is a platform that, and it's private. So it's not taking your data outside of the ASU system. It reviews your resume and gives you instant feedback. It can help you generate cover letters. If you put in a job description and you want to generate a specific cover letter for tailored towards a job description, it will give you that instantly. And it will suggest jobs to apply to. So it will also, if anyone used VMock before, that was a tool we used before. It's like an updated version of that that uses even more AI, gives you even more recommended resume changes, and goes a little bit of a step further. ChatGPT, of course, can be used ethically for a wide variety of career development steps using prompts and questions. And we have some suggested prompts and questions at ASU Career Services. There's other AI platforms every day, I feel like. So we encourage you to research those options and see what suits your needs. So I mentioned ethics. So now we're going to talk about the responsible use of AI. So ASU has a statement on AI. As we embark on this exciting journey, it is imperative that we adhere to a set of principles and guidelines that align with our institutional values, federal regulations, and state laws. So it's really, really important to know these things and to kind of keep up, but there's some basics out there. So protecting your own privacy, never include your name or personal identifying information. So such as social security, driver's license, when using ChatGPT or other AI systems outside of ASU. So if you're using Sun Devil Career Prep, you can include your name in that information because it's a closed system. If you are going to use open AI, you want to always remove that personal information. Review all. So do not blindly accept suggestions or copy and paste out of a system. So use your critical thinking skills and make your own edits. They're always suggested edits. They're not edits you have to make. And then start original. So we always recommend starting with your own content and then asking for reviews or suggestions. So developing a resume and then uploading that to Sun Devil Career Prep to get the suggested feedback and then going back to human edits again. So this will help you stand out as a candidate and avoid misrepresentation of your qualifications. So for instance, sometimes we see a lot of stuff done by just only AI coming into career services. And it is you can tell a lot of times when like some of the wording starts getting really, really repetitive. So starting, with your own original content, you can avoid that more easily. So AI makes mistakes. We've all kind of learned this recently. So be aware that AI is not perfect. It's imperative that you proofread anything generated by AI. So always check for truth, accuracy, and context. But sometimes it will give you something very out of context, and that can make things feel very confusing and psychedelic. So dishonesty on your application also can like become a problem if you're only using AI, because you can get suggestions that sound really good on paper but may not be truthful when generated by AI. So any dishonesty on your application will disqualify you for opportunities and create mistrust with potential connections. And that's the last thing we want, obviously. So we want to really make sure that everything's okay. Okay, so let's go into AI and career exploration. So I mentioned Pathway U. This is the one where you do the 4 little assessments and then they generate some suggested career interest areas for you. So you can scan this QR code right here, go to this link, or just search ASU Career Services Pathway U. Again, this is my favorite resource. I just think it's really updated, useful, insightful. It's sort of like the old ASVAB test, but I think it assesses a lot more than interest. It kind of assesses like sort of who you are and what works for you as well. So I really like this test. And I like that it also suggests careers in whatever zip code you put in. So you can kind of look around and see Okay, let's go directly from what am I kind of thinking about? What do I, vague to like very specific, I guess. So here are the four little assessments as illustrated. So there's interests, values, personality, and workplace preferences. So the one that really I think is interesting and that like not a lot of other tests assess is workplace preferences. So you may like I found this really insightful having worked, many jobs before I took this test. I kind of like had a really, really high stability bar and I was like, oh, okay. Stability. All right. I mean, that makes sense. Everyone wants all of these things. They all want to be able to like be recognized. They all want to like be able to collaborate and stuff like that. But like my stability was really high. My recognition was really low. So I don't know. Maybe that probably says something about me, but um it's just interesting when you're looking for a job that you can kind of think, oh, maybe I don't take something where every shift is totally different from the next and I don't know where I am next week. So I really like those insights that it gives. Here's an example of like how it kind of pans out. So primary interests, it gives this person, okay, social. So this is part of the interest. They have a lot of social interests. So that's, probably someone who might want to work in social work or they have some suggested areas down here, a medical assistant, professor, physical therapist, counselor. Um, they thrive in roles that help people. They like to promote people's learning and development. And they enjoy communicating, counseling, teaching, advising, and being of service to people. So this is kind of more of a deeper look into how they kind of figure that out. Okay, so generating job titles. So this is how we can kind of apply. So generate a list of job titles with descriptions that could be a good fit for me based on. So this is like a prompt. My interests, which are social and investigative based on Pathway U, my values, which are achievement and working conditions. We're just taking this based on like the highest level results from here. My personality, agreeableness and honesty, and then collaboration and recognition for my workplace preferences. And then, so like what kind of job titles would be good for that? And then another prompt, I'm considering a career as a physical therapist or medical assistant. Could you suggest other job titles with descriptions that align with these roles and might also interest me? And then a follow up. Thank you. Can you broaden the list to include positions outside of the healthcare field? So the way to use AI is to like really make it work for you and fill in the gaps that maybe it's like having another brain there sort of to help you think of the things that you might not think about. So, okay, oh, I hadn't thought that like, you know, maybe food systems education in elementary schools is going to be a thing I'm interested in, but I hadn't really thought about that until it was suggested to me. So, it's supposed to help you kind of with those things that wouldn't naturally just come to you. So okay, here's some job title and industry research information. So use known and vetted tools. So like we have these tools all available at ASU Career Services, Pathway U. What can I do with this major and job market insights to research job titles and industries that you're interested in. And we can all, any career services advisor can help you with this. Or you can just go onto our website and start exploring on your own at ASU Career Services. We have these all available right there. You can also use AI like ChatGPT to elevate your knowledge of a specific industry or a specific job. And a good way to do that is by creating detailed prompts. So you can research the following like this. So typical career path of a physical therapist, day in the life of a neurosurgeon, um, day in the life of a neurosurgeon in the Pacific Northwest 10 years into their profession. It's interesting what you can kind of get once you start imagining. and once you start putting in different prompts. So you can also identify education, licensures, and or certifications desired for those in that industry. I was helping someone in who was asking about licensure and certifications for urban planning the other day, and I was like, "Ooh, this is not an area I know a lot about," but we did find a lot of information using AI together that when we asked for the sources, like, "What are you citing?" It was citing all the local transportation info and infrastructure info of Phoenix, so it was actually really good information. Um, you can also compare and contrast roles in industries and then keep informed about key trends, challenges, and opportunities for growth in the field. So, what are the key trends in social media marketing right now? And then when you go into your interview, maybe that's something you can speak to a little bit more because you've done the research to see what those key trends are and you've thought about those key trends. Or you've seen what challenges are happening on the regional level. You can also identify companies or organizations in insert industry in insert region. Okay, so I want to find out about photography or wedding photography companies in, Southeast Oregon. It's just really amazing what can be done. And then find ways to test my fit with insert role. So, how do I find ways to test fit with my, um, sports medicine degree? Like, how do I think about, because sometimes when you're in college, you're learning all this education, you're learning all of this information about a specific subject, but there might not be a specific hands-on way to test that. Maybe you haven't gotten an internship yet, or internships are difficult to come by in your major or your industry. So how can you test this in a different way? I had a student yesterday who um a neuroscience major who in his own project on his resume just took fMRI data and analyzed it and just made his own independent research project that he did at home. And he was like, "That was so fun. I know that this is going to be an interesting field for me." You can just come up with interesting things like that. I don't know if he got that from AI, but I just thought that was a really cool to test his fit. And if you can't come up with things on your own, ask AI. Okay. So, this is an activity to compare and contrast the roles and responsibility of two different, like insert role. Is anyone interested in having two roles compared? Because that is something that we could do right now. Okay, NJ wants to try it. Um, all right. Do you have any roles, NJ, that you want to do you want to compare? Otherwise, I can, okay, let's see. Okay, while they think about it. Okay, project manager versus program manager. Yes. Okay, awesome. So let me get out of this full screen here. We're gonna go over here. Sorry, this like Zoom bar is like everywhere. Trying to manage a lot on a very small screen. All right, Chat GPT. Here we come. Compare, remember what the question was, and contrast the responsibilities and roles of. Okay. Compare and contrast the responsibilities and roles of a project manager and a program manager. All right, let's see what comes up. Okay, so it's giving us like an interesting overview in the form of a chart or a table. Okay, So project manager, delivering a specific project, narrow, focus on a single objective. Success measured by on time, on budget, in scope. Program manager, managing a group of related projects. Broad strategic alignment across projects, strategic benefits, synergy, and overall value. Okay. And then, of course, we can get into a lot more specifics. Key responsibilities. Okay. Program strategy versus planning and execution. Okay. And then level of responsibility. Tools and deliverables. Oh, this is interesting. So they talk even about the specific, like the Gantt chart, and it gives examples too. Final thoughts. Project managers make sure things get done right. Program managers make sure the right things get done. Well, that was very like simplified, but we could always do a follow-up with it. And see like, you know, what sort of like what are the top 10 technical skills and soft skills needed for a career in X? Let's look at that right now. What are the top 10 technical skills needed for a career in project management? It doesn't even care that I spelled management wrong. Okay, so software proficiency in project management specific software. That makes sense. Scheduling and time management. Yep, those all make sense. Budgeting and forecasting. And then I like that it does even give you like skills, cost estimation, budgeting, earned value, but also specific tools. So the Excel, QuickBooks, Oracle, etc. Risk management, data analysis and reporting, Agile and Scrum methodologies. Okay, so I'm not going to go through all of those just for the sake of the presentation. I know we don't all need that, but I like this. Ask me questions to evaluate my proficiency in each of these skills, and then rank my skills by proficiency. So let's plug that in and see what it comes up with. I use ChatGPT for interview questions for mock interviews for students all the time, just because you can like plug in the exact job description and get really specific questions. I feel like that's one of its strongest suits is practicing for interviews. Okay, so what project management tools have you used and how do you typically use them in a management process? Scrum methodology. So it's asking you like basically how have you used each of these things? Once you respond, I'll evaluate your rank and proficiency in each skill area. And then I'm going to put this one in just for the sake of ending the experiment. So we can see what sort of value it provides. I am a third, well, I'll say a junior in college studying project management. Give me strategies to develop these skills while in college to prepare me for an entry level position in project management. I like that it can get students really thinking about, and people just really thinking about what can we start developing while in school. If you get a chance, maybe, you know, if you get an assignment and you get to do something that where you get to be a little free and choosing what you do, maybe you're like, you know, I'm seeing a lot of stuff about this project management Asana tool. I'm going to do my project on that because I keep seeing that coming up as something that's actually used in the industry. So finding those specific ways, I guess, to incorporate into your education can be really nice, even though we don't all get a chance to do that, or trying to upskill once you've graduated and looking for a job. That's always like continuing to learn is always super important. So here's some other prompts. What are other common alternative job title companies What are other common alternative job titles companies may use instead of project manager? Find open internships or part-time jobs related to this near my location. Generate a list of 20 top employers of project managers in whatever industry. I guess that's every industry they can be in Phoenix, Arizona. Can you suggest any research projects or academic activities for a project management major that align with gaining experience in project management? I'm going to stop saying project management, I promise you guys. Okay. So that's a way to use prompts to be smart about it and to get the best value out of these tools. So now we're going to talk about AI for resumes and cover letters. Okay. So, a totally generated cover letter or resume, it is usually, we can tell. So best pairing is your original thoughts and your original writing enhanced by AI if you want to use AI. So use AI to proof your resume to check it for spelling or grammar mistakes. Again, removing your personal information if you're using something open like ChatGPT. You can use AI to transform a list of tasks into accomplishment statements. I was a barista, I did inventory, I served customers, I cleaned the floors, blah blah blah. How do you transform that into a list of transferable skills and accomplishment statements? AI can do that for you. You can also ask AI to generate a summary statement that highlights your qualifications. A lot of times people come in and talk to us at career services saying they don't have any skills. Well, your resume says otherwise. And if you're feeling not so confident, ask AI to tell you a list of your qualifications. And maybe that's a good thing to do before an interview, just so you can have like those things on, at the forefront of your mind. Like, okay, I've done a lot of teamwork. I've done a lot of like, organizing. I'm really proficient in time management. It's nice to have those summarized for yourself. And then to customize, get assistance incorporating keywords from a job description into your documents. So they are asking for someone who has, top quality uh, Instagram and TikTok experience on a global level. Like, how do you take that wording and maybe incorporate it back into your cover letter and resume? Um, okay, so here are some more example prompts for you guys. So for perfecting your resume. So please edit my resume to one page because most resumes should be not much longer than one page. Of course, most of you are alumni and you might have more than one page resume. That's okay because you've been working, you've been out in the working world, maybe. But most resumes should be around one page, at least under two. Please, and if you're struggling, here's a solution. Please edit my resume to one page that highlights my internship experience in software development and my skills using Python and Django. So this person is trying to get a job in software development. And so they really want to put forth and highlight their experience using Python and Django, maybe not as much. They can include their, food service experience, but we really want to make the most of, make sure that the Python and Django experience is what is highlight and has the best space and um, taking up the best residence on the resume. This is my current resume. Insert your resume without name and contact info, of course. Also, if anyone ever has any questions, please feel free to just jump in at any time. Like, I know I'm just talking a lot, so feel free. Okay, another prompt. Can you tailor my resume to a specific job posting for a marketing manager role, specifically by suggesting relevant skills and experience and experience highlights and tweaking the language to match the job description. Excellent prompt. Excellent prompt. Um, this is my current resume without my name and contact info. This is the job description. They have that little upload button on ChatGPT and on Sun Devil Career Prep. Um, the I heard once at an AI talk a couple months ago that your results are as good as your prompts. And I thought that was a really interesting thought. So good prompts will get you good results. Okay, so here's one more for increasing resume impact. Can you add more detail to my work experience section about my responsibilities as a student worker, specifically about my experience with customer service? So that is going to be, yeah, just highlighting the things that you want to highlight basically, and making sure that the best stuff gets seen. Here's another one. Can you help me turn a list of tasks into quantifiable accomplishment statements? Here are the tasks: answered phones, entered client information, shared information about services and resources. So you'll see that the prompts, it is automatically trained to give accomplishment statements, which are making your bullet points show an action word first, then a task that you did at your job, equaling an outcome that made you look good at that job, a good thing that you did for the company at that job. So instead of answered phones, you efficiently managed an average of 50 plus inbound calls daily, ensuring prompt and professional responses to client inquiries. That sounds a lot better than answered phones. Um, Entered client information. That doesn't give you anything about like what is client information? What does that even mean? Where did you enter it? Um, and of course you have to like be honest about it. Um, about the number, and about what you did, but this puts it in a good format, and then you can adjust the number. Accurately input and maintained client information for over 200 records per week, improving data integrity and accessibility. So I like these because it is really hard to get students and people to get anyone to sort of talk themselves up on their resume, and this is a really good. If you're really struggling with that, have this assist. Get the robot to do it for you, I guess, like, get your help there. So, and then it will say, like, does this work for you? Do you want any adjustments, which is very nice. So for cover letters, the purpose of a cover letter, and they're not always required, but they often are, is to introduce yourself, to demonstrate your genuine interest in the job, and to highlight your most relevant qualifications through examples in the form of a short letter. It is meant to expand on your resume, right? They can be challenging. This is one of the reasons why we really like Sun Devil Career Prep, this tool. And there's, of course, this QR code here, or you can search for it on our website. And on the website, it's embedded with a lot of other information about AI, including like prompts, ethical use, like a lot of what I'm going over in this presentation, just sort of shortened. Um, so this is, again, our newer tool that replaced VMock. It's one-stop shop for all things career readiness. So it's resume creation and review. So create a resume for me on becoming a library aide at um, the Scottsdale Public Library. Just I think it's best to, of course, always start with something that you've written, upload that, and then have it review. I have noticed that it is not all knowing. You I noticed some mistakes were not caught when I uploaded a resume here. You always have to go over with a human brain, of course. Cover letter support. That just means that they will write a cover letter for you. So it's pretty great. But same thing. If you start with an original, it's better. Um, it will generate one of my favorite things that it does is the mock interview stuff. So if you upload a um, job description or a resume, it will generate interview questions for you. So a lot like ChatGPT that are relevant exactly to the position that you're applying for. And then it has a job application tracker as well and salary negotiation tactics. So how to negotiate or write a letter specifically um, asking for whatever salary you want. So that's always a thing that can be difficult for people in general. So it's nice to kind of have a starting like hand with that here. And then they also suggest jobs on it too. They'll suggest some uh they'll be like, "Oh, you're interested in construction. Here's some construction jobs in your area." It's not as like robust as like Indeed or LinkedIn or something like that or Handshake, but it does suggest some jobs and is an interesting tool. So, here's the kind of realness of the situation. So, there are pros and cons for everything. Using AI for cover letters. So it saves time, quickly customizes, finds mistakes, and generates ideas on what to highlight. That can be really useful, especially the generating ideas on what to highlight. But they all sound the same. They sound generic and unoriginal. They sound like they were written by AI, and you can tell. Um, they cannot think critically. They cannot draw from examples unless you like really train them, and then they may use the same language as other applicants. So again, there's a lot of the same language, the same cadence, the same rhythm of sentences, the same grammar conventions, or not grammar, punctuation conventions. So those things are just sort of like insight into like this was totally created by AI. But so we're gonna do an activity. This is a fun one. So AI or human is the activity. Which one of these was written by AI? We're going to guess. So I'll read them and we'll guess. So, option A. I am writing my I am writing to express my interest in the marketing intern position at Brand X as advertised. As a communications degree student with a keen interest in social media marketing, I am excited about the opportunity to contribute to your team and gain valuable experience in the industry. Okay, option B, and go ahead and shout it out or put it in the chat if you have a guess. Option B, I am writing to express my interest in the marketing intern position posted in Handshake. After reviewing the details, I am confident my education in communications and experience with social media marketing make me a strong candidate for this role. Reading about your commitment to excellence makes me excited about the prospect of working at Brand X. So it is a little tricky. So if anyone has a guess, I'm curious to hear your guess. So I guess they both kind of pass as like pretty good, right? Um, so the answer is option A. And the I will enlighten you guys as to why. Okay, so I was seeing if the next slide if they had it written out or not, but they don't. Okay, so I happen to know just from reading a trillion of these. Oh, we did have, oh, I'm sorry, I did not see in the chat. We had some guesses here. Okay, so it is option A. So we had, but you know what? It still reads well. So those of you who guessed option B, like, don't feel bad. Really. The way that like I think it stands out as like written by AI is it doesn't, like, say where they found the position, um, versus, like, handshake. It says the word keen. ChatGPT loves the word keen. I don't know why. It just is, like, obsessed with it. It must have been trained on it really hard. And then it has this sort of generic, I'm excited to about the opportunity to contribute to your team and gain valuable experience in the industry, versus the other one mentioned the mission statement of the company. Your commitment to excellence makes me excited about the prospect of working there. And like makes me excited sounds a little less like robotic and a little bit more like it was written by a person than like I am excited about the opportunity to contribute to your team. So that's sort of how the things that like I saw just like kind of picking through here. But they both do sound really professional and good. So I mean, you know. So, okay, ideas for improving your cover letters with AI. So start with your original draft. I know I've said that like 800 times now, but it really does make it better. Um, Ask AI to incorporate specific skills or examples that you provide in your letter. And that's another way to ensure that you have your own originality, your own touch on it. Have AI proofread your cover letter and suggest stronger, more confident language. People always sell themselves short, so having that like stronger, more confident language is a nice thing that AI can do. And then also the proofreading. Like they can't like sell you can sell your original self and your skills. What AI can do is proofread and like enhance your language to make it stronger. They can also suggest language from the job description that is missing from your cover letter. And that can be just a really nice proof, once more to be like, oh man, they did ask for that. I'm so glad that I got that covered because in this day and age, it's a really good idea to get as much covered as you can, since there's lots of applicants for lots of jobs. Okay, so AI for interview prep. Now we're going to move on to this. So, prepping for an interview, we usually use like sort of the job title and description to incorporate that into whatever AI you're using to get the best possible customized ways to practice for that specific interview. So, you can like say like specific to job description, identify technical skills, identify core competencies or soft skills. So like the prompt could be if you're trying to generate some questions for yourself, identify the 10 most likely interview questions for this job, insert job description. You could also create behavioral questions, traditional questions, or technical questions. So those are the three types of interview questions. They, traditional are like, tell me about yourself. The ones that like anyone can get at any job. Behavioral are more like, tell me about a time when, and they like to kind of see how you would respond in a situation. And then technical are obviously like technical questions about the technicalities of the job, I guess. So you get a lot of those in like, you know, higher level roles or in STEM roles, things like that. You could get them in actually any role, but I feel like that's where you see them the most. Like, tell me about what you know about using Python in this scenario. Um, so some questions to ask. So I really like using this because I feel like students and I keep saying students, but it's really everybody, because obviously alumni, anyone, um, often struggle to find questions to ask. Like when they say like, what questions do you have for us? Which is, I feel like the scariest question in the job interview. What are some insightful questions to ask about the management style of the team leader? So that can be a really nice thing to have AI do for you is come up with questions to ask at the end of the interview that aren't just like, what is a day in the life of like at this job? Because sometimes they may not know. They are hiring for your position, so they may not know what it's like. But you can have, it generate questions, ask about the company culture, job responsibilities, team dynamics, growth opportunities, about understanding management style and company goals. Like, I just really like all of those options that it gives you. And just asking interesting questions makes you an interesting candidate, you know? Okay, so we have Sun Devil Career Prep in here once again. So that is just to remind you that you can use it for interview practice. So I just skipped past that since we already had the QR code up. So here's like interview practice and feedback. Social science research suggests that all humans are primed to look for two characteristics when evaluating others: competence, can you do the job? Warmth, would I want to do the job with you? And so that's super important in interview settings. So you can also generate interview responses. Um, this can be really helpful if you are just really stuck on how to answer a question, or you'd really like a good way to answer a question. Like, this is what computers do. They come up with really, really good, um, solid, correct answers a lot of the time. So ask ChatGPT to help you brainstorm some responses to difficult interview questions, but then personalize those responses. Like, always add the human touch. So like here's some examples. So transferable skills. How can I effectively respond to the interview question? Insert the interview question by highlighting and relating it to my previous experiences listed on my resume. Or if you get a question about limited experience, that's a really tough one to answer. Um, can you suggest some strategies for answering the interview question blank when I am still in the process of building skills and gaining experience in that area? So if you are asked, I see you don't have experience with Hootsuite on your resume, but you're a social media manager. Um, you know, can you tell me about why you don't have experience with that? That's a pretty jarring question to get. So, um, prepping your responses, because you don't know what you're going to get, but prepping your responses ahead of time to things that you might think you might get asked is always a great idea. Another thing that I love using AI for is helping to generate STAR method answers to questions. So, you can ask it to generate an interview answer based on the STAR method for the question. So, using my resume, give me an answer. So, the STAR method is a like sort of four-part way to answer a question where you sort of like demonstrate a situation where you resolved basically whatever the problem was, and you demonstrate your skills and kind of how you were competent in that scenario. So, strengths and weaknesses. How should I answer an interview question about my strengths and weaknesses? Please provide strategies and examples in the STAR format. Oh, that is such a hard one. I've interviewed and practiced interviewing a lot with in this role, and man, it still is hard to do the strengths and weaknesses no matter what. Okay, so other ways AI can prepare you for an interview that are kind of outside of the sort of more straightforward things we've been doing. So, research, that is huge. Ask questions about the industry, the market, and the company as a thing that I always am encouraging people to do more of here. Research, research, research. Know about the company before you go in, please, please. What do I wear? Get advice on appropriate attire for different interview settings. You know, a suit works for most things for most people, but maybe it doesn't work for everything. How do I dress for, you know, a a lab setting interview, you know? Like there's interesting questions to be asked there. Confidence. Ask for strategies to boost confidence and decrease stress before your interview. And then a setting. Is your interview in person, over the phone, or virtual? Ask how to best prepare for that setting. Um, More and more interviews are virtual these days, and there is a whole different set of etiquette for virtual interviewing and a whole different set of expectations, I guess. While some of it remains the same, it's nice to be able to feel comfortable and prepared in any of those three. So, a conclusion is to know the limitations. So, there's bias. AI and ChatGPT can inherit biases from the data they are trained on. That's just how it is. The solution or the workaround for that is to start with original content. Always verify AI generated information with multiple sources and be aware of potential biases. I love just saying, okay, where did you get that information from? Like, I feel like I do that every time I use ChatGPT. And usually I'm happy with the results, but sometimes I'm not. So, got to be real careful. Um, Accuracy. The information AI can provide is only as good as the data it has access to. So, ChatGPT's data is currently only loaded to January 2022. So the solution, cross-check important facts and trends with up-to-date, reliable sources. Privacy, okay, users may have limited control over how their data is stored, used, and shared by AI systems. That's why we're suggesting keeping personal information away from it. So review the privacy policies of AI tools and avoid sharing sensitive or personal information. I would just avoid it altogether. And then connection. AI generated responses can lack the emotional intelligence. I think we've like kind of been over that in this presentation. And it lacks empathy, it lacks a human touch. It's just how it is. Obviously, it is not human. Use AI as a supplementary tool rather than a replacement for personal communications. So I feel like AI is sort of like, when you're using it to generate like especially like resumes and cover letters and stuff like that, can generate like one of those store-bought cookies that you're like, this is still a good cookie, but it doesn't compare to a made from scratch cookie made by someone you love, which like maybe they put some store-bought frosting on it, but like made from scratch is going to be better, right? So like always start with original. That's my metaphor there. The original content is the made from scratch cookie. So, like, use it sparingly, and then use it wisely. So, do generate ideas and revise or refine your original work. Do research and compare your options with AI. It's really good with comparisons, as we looked at earlier. Do check other sources of information to validate things. Do use ChatGPT as an interactive tool. Don't embellish your qualifications to the point of misrepresentation, which ChatGPT will sometimes want to do by generating really awesome accomplishment statements that may not fit your life. So be careful. Um, don't accept AI recommendations without critically thinking or cross referencing with reputable sources. And if you want help with that, that's always something we can do at Career Services too. Don't copy and paste directly from AI generated responses. It is obvious to people and employers, and it doesn't look good. Need more support. So career services, ASU career services, we have a lot of resources. ASU students and alumni have lifetime access. Like I said before, if you have an ASU right, you have access to everything, and you all have your ASU right. So to get started, you can scan this. This takes you once again to the career services website, and we have we're always getting new stuff and doing new things and trying new things out and trying to keep up with AI especially. Um, and if in doubt, we would love to see you for an appointment. I think appointments are really, really important because you can sit down, Zoom, phone, email if you want. You can request that. At least for me, I'll do an email, whatever. Appointment in person. I'm at the Tempe campus, but we have people at every campus. And sit down with us and ask us whatever questions you want, whatever you need, and take that time to like really get um all your questions asked, all your concerns asked, or I know this was a presentation about AI and career services, but we have a lot more to offer. So here is a thank you and a quick survey. If anyone is interested, you can please complete that. But we also have time to chat and ask any questions. So again, feel free to um, unmute or throw anything in the chat. I will try to remember. I'm sorry I forgot about the chat for a little bit earlier, but I have it up now. And so if anyone has any questions at all, I will be on for a little bit and happy to answer anything or at least get you in the right area. But I hope that you gained something valuable from this or at least learned something interesting. We're all learning still about AI. So I was glad to see this many people here. And yeah, I hope it can serve you well in your job search because it's hard out there. And thank you to everyone who came. And thank you guys. All right. Well, have a great night.